Wally, this is smart. If you stuff everyone's mouth, they can't object.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no problem.
All right, we are live.
They'll get out of it, yeah.
What, we're good?
We're good.
All right, good. Hey, thank you everybody for coming in this evening. Thank you for the food. Just good. Makes sense that I ate right before we came in here. So tonight we are here for the PMB Advisory Committee meeting, our quarterly meeting. Today's date is December 5th, 2024. And Wally, if you want to take the roll call, or I'll call this meeting to order. And then Wally, if you wanted to take the roll call so you can write everybody down.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me get my page out. All right, Commissioner Swearingen,
Here.
Heather Graham, not present. Doug Prohl, not present. Mark Guerrero,
Here.
Randy Reeves,
Here.
Mark Aliff, not present. Joe O'Brien, not present. Brett Verna,
Here.
Reid Weber,
Here.
Jules Horner,
Here.
Brian Robinson,
Here.
Louis Nazario,
Here.
Andy Jesik,
Here.
Joshua Rogers,
Here.
and Josias Lambert.
Here.
All right, and then Jeremiah Minogue,
Here.
Amy Hurtig Smith,
Here.
and that's everybody. I'm Wally Wallace. I am the Pueblo Means Business Manager, and so I usually moderate these meetings with the support of our chair, Commissioner Swearingen. Thank you all for joining us today. And then I think that Commissioner Swearingen did have one quick announcement he wanted to, or one note he
Yeah,
wanted to make
I
before we get started.
mean, I'm usually guilty of it, but veering us off topic and we usually get into an open discussion, which is fine usually. Tonight we're gonna try something different, stay on topic. Just until we get to, the kind of round table, which will be towards the latter end, but I think we can breeze through some of the scheduled things, so we don't lose those, but that's all I got. Well, if you wanna go back to it.
Sounds great. And yeah, and I do think that we'll breeze through the beginning of this meeting. So if we can get off topic soon enough. So welcome to the December 5th, 2024 Advisory Committee meeting of Pueblo Means Business. Our second meeting within this building, the now officially named GSC building. Our office is downstairs on the first floor, as you all know, because we are our meeting there last time with Pueblo County Planning and Development. This floor, as far as I have heard so far, is intended to maintain this purpose of having large meetings, events, stuff like that. So this might be our permanent home for these types of meetings in the future, but sometimes things change in the county of what certain floors and parts of the building are used for. So that might change, but we've got an amazing view of the courthouse from here, and it's a nice open space. So thank you all for joining us tonight. I did want to take a minute and introduce you all to Elizabeth Holloway, our filmmaker, who is capturing some moments of this. We're just trying to update some of the video content we have online. Currently, the video that describes the Pueblo Means Business Initiative is over 8 minutes long. A lot of the information on there isn't really quite up to date. So we brought on a really excellent filmmaker to help us make some updates to all of that. And we're really happy to have her. So if any of you have a little time after the meeting where you take a few moments to chat with her, we'd love to have some of your thoughts and comments about the program that we can mix into that video. And we won't take a lot of your discussion because, like I said, the last video is over 8 minutes long. This one we're shooting more for like 90 seconds. So you might be in there for like 10 seconds if you're going to be the star of the show. But yeah, just wanted to let you know who she is and why she has joined us today.
The more the merrier, so.
And,
Thank you.
and she's a colleague of mine that I've worked with for over a decade. So I can vouch that she's very excellent at what she does. Okay, and then here's our agenda for the meeting today. One major update I wanted to give you all is we had been at pueblomeansbusiness.com in the past, but before I had joined on with the program, we actually lost that domain and we had moved to pueblopermits.com. I'm very pleased to announce that we have reacquired pueblomeansbusiness.com. We're there now. Everybody who visits pueblopermits.com just automatically gets redirected to Pueblo Means Business. But because of that, we've been able to upgrade our SEO significantly. We're now back and forth between 1 and 2 of the top things that you find when you search for Pueblo Means Business. When you look for Pueblo and permits, we're high up in the top page. So just our search engine optimization is really improving, and more people are able to find us and utilize the portal and the program when they're doing development projects here in Pueblo. The other update I wanted to give you is that we have established our own address here within the building. At first, we were just part of planning and development, but because of that, we weren't able to create a location on Google. So when people would search for us, nothing would really pop up of where they could actually physically go to find us. We worked out an arrangement with planning and development where they're at suite number 110, we're at suite number 120. Basically both the same space, but 2 different addresses. But this again is something that's assisting us in increasing our search engine optimization, making it easier to for people to physically find us. And we love being with planning and development because they are extremely resourceful and helpful and great neighbors. So real quick, I wanted to play you all. I just threw this one together recently, and this one I made all by myself, but I'll be working with Elizabeth to create, I believe we signed up to make 5 tutorial videos. And though I do have some experience in filmmaking, she's actually a much better filmmaker than I am. So I think these will look better when she joins on. And specifically, what I don't like about this one is my voiceover audio on it. So I'm going to go back and fix this one. And then we'll have more of these going forward. But we will be producing a whole bunch of tutorial videos on how to use the Pueblo Means Business portal, and then also how to use the OpenGov platform when people are doing development in Pueblo. And if I can get it to play, I was going to play it for y'all, but let me open it up in a different screen. Thank you for your interest in doing business in Pueblo, Colorado. In this video, we will show you how to create an account for the Pueblo Means Business portal. The portal is a useful tool to help guide you through the process of developing your business in Pueblo County. Let's start by visiting the Pueblo Means Business website at pueblomeansbusiness.com. From here, click on the Permit Portal button located at the top of the browser. Then click Sign In. The Pueblo Regional Building Department and the Pueblo Means Business portal share user logins. If you are already registered on the Pueblo Regional Buildings PRBD.com, you do not need to create another registration. Completing this form will also register you on PRBD.com. If you are a contractor, please use your PRBD license number to register. So we'll go down here, we'll enter our name. Then you'll choose what type of registration you are. There's contractor, but that will require you to enter your contractor license number. There's designer, and then there's public. In this case, we'll go ahead and do public, but that will require us to put in our address. For this, you will put your number in the address line, but then you'll need to find your street here. Then you'll choose your city and your zip code. Then we'll use the Pueblo Means Business at gmail.com for us, but you enter your own email there, of course. Then we'll do a phone number here. And you select your desired user ID. So we'll do a PMB example. Then you create your own password. Your password should have at least 8 characters, including 1 number and 1 special character. After you've created your password, click register. Okay, so it says that we have registered successfully. Please check your email and activate the account. So we'll open up a new tab. We'll go to our email and look for that email. It doesn't look like it actually appeared in my inbox. So let's go to more, see if it might have landed in my spam account, which it did. So we'll click that. I'm gonna report that it's not spam. Go back to my inbox, and then press activate. Okay, welcome to PMB/PRBD. All right, so now that we have created our account and activated it successfully, we will go back to Pueblo Beach Business, click the permit portal, and then we will log in using that username that we created, PMB example. For that password. And then because we created our account as a public account, we'll select that, then log in. Okay, we are now logged in as PMB example. So that was how you created your username and account for the Pueblo Means Business portal. Please continue watching our tutorial videos if you need any more instruction on using the portal going forward. All right, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, that's just the first one put together. It probably took me
You make this?
Oh, yeah.
yeah, this is what I do in my free time.
Wally, that was, I think really good.
I agree.
I think that
That was
was
good.
like phenomenal. The only question I would have is public, so maybe just a little bit of definition of that. So
Mhm.
this is public, this is if I'm building a deck, this is if I'm doing an addition, or like I'm the contractor, because that's what's it's intended to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That legitimately, I'd go around and see, but that'd be the only suggestion I'd have. I think that's great.
Would you decipher possibly like commercial and residential, even public, commercial and residential?
Yeah,
Well, or just public in general?
I think that would go into the public thing. And in my mind, Pueblo Means Business. I always go through it as the lens is trying to help commercial development more than I do the residential, but I do think it's important to make that quite more clear for the people who might be using it, just so they understand that.
So Wally, I'm sorry, what were the three? They were public, there was.
Contractor and designer.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
But I guess if you're setting up an account, because that was this account setup,
Yep.
I mean, you probably fall into one of those three categories, but I see what you're saying about commercial.
Yeah.
yeah, versus, yeah. So no, I think that makes sense for sure. And that's an easy update I can make to it, especially, like I said, I plan on redoing the voiceover. I did all of that last
Yeah,
week.
your voice did it quick. I mean, it was just.
Awful. Nails on the
It's an
chalkboard.
AI. No, but I
I made
think,
them in a better microphone,
I
not a
thought it
better
sounded
voice.
good, Wally.
but to that, I think just the way that you talk, it's very welcoming, like, this is how you do it, like, not a big deal, you go here and step by step by step, doing it.
Yes.
In a previous life, I was a radio DJ. so.
Oh, okay.
Here it is.
Well, I could tell. I mean, I did, I thought the following along was really good. I thought it was really good.
I appreciate it. So yeah, we'll get to work making some more of those. Like I said,
Greg, what do you
You
got?
have the license number, being that if you did a public and you're a residential,
Mhm.
may or may not have a license number, it doesn't really matter, because the outset.
Yeah, because you only have to do the license number if you're signing up as a contractor.
Okay.
Yeah, and so even for that example right there, I didn't use a license number.
So-
And you know what, you might, someone that isn't a contractor or a designer might prefer public, because then they can do either.
Oh, that's a good point.
See, because maybe they're doing something with their self, initially, but then they're doing something like a tenant improvement in a
Yeah.
shopping center.
Yeah.
Which they'll still need a commercial contractor, but they wanna be registered to see what's going on.
You can have multiple accounts.
Yeah, I have multiple accounts. I have one as a contractor and as a,
I think that's a good point to probably hide.
So just to make it generic, I mean, public, I don't think is a bad deal,
Yeah, no, I don't either.
yeah,
I really don't. I mean, that covers a lot of stuff.
right, generalistic.
Yeah.
but I do agree, it'd be good to put in something that just kind of explains what contractor would kind of fall under what designer
Well,
would.
and you gotta remember as you go on through the process, when you get to the Pueblo Regional Building Department, we're gonna be asking you what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And so, you're gonna either go into residential or commercial or carport or hot water heater or whatever. So the rest of the system kind of takes care of that.
Yeah.
Just real quick, Wally, if I have, because right now, a few of our staff have Pueblo regional accounts, can I go into Pueblo Means Business and just log in using my credentials from Pueblo Regional?
We should test it, but yes, that's the idea of it. Is
I'll
that
test it.
If you already do have an account with regional, you should be able to log in.
Because the login screen that came up is exactly the way that Regional's new login screen comes up, like that little box that comes up when you put your password on.
Yeah,
I'll try it tomorrow and I'll let you know.
okay, sounds good.
And in the designer category, I was just speaking with Amy. You know, if you're out of town and you're coming in for one of your clients, architect, engineer might be more dominant than designers down there. Like, designers really don't have any permit pulling process,
Mhm.
but A&E's, architect and engineers are the process, the forefront. Designers would be way down in. That's maybe if that word was in there, just
Yeah, and
if you're visiting.
I think actually that's something we should probably put in both the website itself and in the tutorial. Because yeah, I do believe the designer is supposed to encompass all of those, like an architect and engineer would fall under that designer category.
In the code book, it's registered design professional.
Yeah, and so, but we might just need to define that a little bit better.
I think
Yeah.
would help, like, this is, again,
You're the
public, this
architect,
is where you're
engineer.
going, if you're your own contractor, you're building this, like, just some examples, some simplistic, and then to Brett's point, yeah, this, if you're an architect or an engineer, you're under here in designer.
I'm building
Absolutely.
a chain, basket chain, and I'm getting ready, and I'm taking care of my client. They said, we want to build here, here's our address, we just purchased it, go take care of it. So they get into this and they'll come in as the architect engineer and just find out what the process is. So they can incorporate it, plus it allows them to reach out. I think it needs to be the start of it. It's the beginning of the project.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
In that level,
Mhm.
and then this designer's down in there, further, it could be a word, and you're right. Code. Yeah, that's the only thing I could see. The rest of it was great. I mean, guys, you made it easy. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
You know,
Yeah, and we'll do more of them. That was just easy because I don't think that's changing the way that happens. There's some things early on in the process that we are working on updating right now, which
So in that app, when you just click on it and you open it, can I go to a button that says, would you like a tutorial? Just what you just did right there. Just
you
click
will
on it.
very, very soon.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do have a plan on where I'm
That'll
gonna
help
put
it.
that.
Homeowner, a little residential guy, make it easy and step them through
Yeah,
to finally arrive to Mark.
yeah, we'll both have a link to that when you press sign up. There'll be like a link to watch the tutorial video. But then also we'll just have a page that is just all of the tutorial videos in the order that you would most likely need to use them.
So
So,
that was really good. It was simple.
Yeah.
And I just finished doing one in New Brunswick.
yeah,
I
and
jumped on
I'm
their new system that way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We're doing great.
good.
That's all I gotta say. We're doing great.
I'm actually really
So-
glad that it landed in my spam folder too. Because it
Yeah.
allowed me to demonstrate that. And if it hadn't landed in there, we probably would have been getting a lot of calls from people being like, I didn't find the email. But
No, I thought that was really good.
yeah, I was fortunate that my email spammed that one out in this case.
I do like, I mean, there's been different entities like Brett said. You log into the homepage and you're going through and the tutorial videos are like at the top.
Yeah.
You know, and they're labeled and they say, sign up, blah, 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 you know, and so then that way you can click on them instead of like getting into all of this stuff and the tutorial goes at the bottom. Is that kind of your vision?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm still waiting on you to call me and
I
join
know.
you for a permanent
I know.
sign up so I can see what some of the other websites are
Just
doing.
haven't had good ones yet. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Totally understand. I trust that you'll give me a call.
I will.
I'll bring you the one from Texas.
That'd be great.
That would be
They have all
cool.
different software, template, everything.
But yeah, no, I'm all about trying to put that type of stuff towards the top and on the left-hand side. I
Yeah.
just think that's how the English speaking
Yep.
mind works. So that's definitely where you'll be finding it when we do get it on there. And I'm really excited. I got a sneak peek of your all's new website the other day.
I was gonna mention, I wonder if you knew about it.
I-
We're also changing our logo. We're gonna update that too. So-
Yeah, it's looking really good. So I'm really excited. if you all are ready by the next meeting, I would love to make that one of our.
We're working on it, yep.
Cool. Mike was kind enough to show Carmen and I a little bit of it. A week or two ago, and we all thought it was.
Some of the need is, I mean, we need to have it more ADA accessible from a viewing point of view, but it's also been pretty antiquated and we want to update to be more of a modern look and simpler use.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of stuff that's good from the International Code Council, handouts on how to do carports, handouts on how to do additions that give you a step-by-step or at least a checklist of all the things you need.
Mhm. Yep, I think it's all getting better. It's, yeah, hopefully we'll be where we want to be very soon. So does anyone else have any other comments or questions about the tutorial videos before we move on to the next topic? Okay. So next is just kind of an update. Oh, it's because I clicked off of it. There we go. We just wanted to give a little bit of an update on one of the things we left the last meeting as an action item of what we wanted to work on, and that was the update of our sketch plan review process at the county. And we're hoping that we can also work with the city to enact some of these things there as well. But one thing that I just observed coming into the PMB position, before I was in this position, I was with Pueblo West. I would run their commercial development review meetings, and we had a certain way of running ours. And then the county has a certain way of running theirs, and the city has a certain way of running theirs. And I don't think I could say which one is doing it better, but they are all different. And some things I thought were better about one, and some things I thought were worse about one. And I'd really like to work with all three of the agencies to like kind of figure out what is the best of each aspect of them and standardize that across the board. Like for example, for Pueblo West, I think we did a good job of like going through each agency, providing a lot of notes, recording the meeting, being able to provide feedback to those customers. But we weren't nearly as good at actually like running the meeting, being able to show exactly where problems were in the project, jumping through different GIS layers, stuff like that the city is amazing at doing.
They really are.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with how they've been doing that. But then at the same time, I don't think that they necessarily created as good of notes for the people that are in those meetings. And sometimes during those meetings, the people that are running it aren't taking any notes. You see that the developer is there and he's not taking any notes.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, like now we're gonna get a call in a few months because they don't remember what they were told during this meeting. And so I just want to work with all of us so that we can all just make it standard across the board. And that way, all of the developers that are coming here get the same treatments, and it's just coordinated in a way where we're giving them the best feedback they can get so they don't face problems down the road. Because I think as a developer, that'd probably be the most frustrating thing, having invested all this time, all this money, thinking that everything's going super smoothly, and then realizing that there's something that you should have done 6 months ago that's not going to hold up your whole project for who knows how long. So that's the biggest thing. So what we have been doing in the county is, first of all, we are actually combining forces with Pueblo West. As of the beginning of the year, Pueblo West commercial development review meetings are going to be dissolved, and projects that are happening in Pueblo West are actually just going to come to the county sketch plan review meetings. That way we're just more in communication. We're in the process of working on integrating our OpenGov platforms as well. So that we're both just working on the same OpenGov system. That way people that are working on stormwater, wastewater, and all these different organizations can see the notes that the other people are leaving. And so we don't have to like call up somebody, try and track somebody down when we're trying to find that information. It's just all there on the portal. And just that lack of communication will be less of an issue, because all of that will be recorded there, easy to find and easy to track in a way that both the public can see them, but then also we have a tracking mechanism that lets us just see it internally, so the different agencies can see what their comments are, if that's appropriate for the comment that's being made. So that is, like I said, we're gonna be making that change, first of the year. The first meeting that will, take over both of those is January 14th, I believe. And, with that, we're also, making all of those programs go through OpenGov to start, where instead of, this is something that the county has been doing for a while, is that when somebody wants to go to a sketch plan review meeting, they will go to OpenGov, submit a letter of intent, a site plan. In Pueblo West, the way that we did it was they had to get a hold of the economic development person there. They'd send them an email, giving them all the information, requesting that letter of intent, that site plan. They'd have to email it back, and to go on the schedule. So we're moving over to how the county has been doing it, except we're asking in the sketch plan review submission in OpenGov for a lot more information than they were in the past. Where we're just making sure we're getting everything we need for all of the development agencies to be able to give the best feedback that they can.
And I understand you're maybe developing it for a standardization of what that checklist is in a development plan sort of thing. So, I mean, you can get the consultants, the architects and engineers to say, okay, here's the plan that has, you know, the parking, the lighting, the, you know, the plot plan, that sort of thing, all in one page. So it becomes easier to review, right? And then I just want to also add from the building department, that's all the horizontal construction, right? But equivalent to that sketch plan, we have pre-submittal meetings for the building itself, for the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire, separation, occupancy, you know, exiting sort of thing that we invite people to come and talk to us about. We have our experts there and we'll have that conversation with them, and you're right about the notes, you know, it's all nice to have a meeting, but you also have to have taskers and follow up and say, this is what we talked about. So it's very important.
Yeah, and so that's, like I said, we've been very fortunate that I come from Pueblo West, so I have really good connections with all of them. That I'm working with the county, and Carmen and her team are just so open to new ideas and trying things. And honestly, I've had great experiences working with the city as well. I think that Scott and Barrett have been very welcoming to me, letting me be involved with all their meetings. But we still have a long way to go to get all of us exactly on the same page of what that standardization should be and what the value of all of that is. So any support you all can give us in making that happen across the board would be extremely helpful.
That was my suggestion. I mean, the users at hand really need to be part of that. You use it the county, you use the city, you see like, oh, this is difficult, this is easy. I mean, their input's gonna be huge as they combine all these. That would be really good. I mean, Brian, we had this narrative several times. So that's gonna be making it easier.
No, I could see, you know, when you have engineers and architects and things on board. And but sometimes, you know, a developer is just looking for, okay, what are my roadblocks here? You know, like just setting up those meetings before I start engaging all of my consultants, you know. And so I think, and I know that I have been at those meetings before with city planning. I know with Carmen's team, you know, like we're bringing a new client in and just like, I don't have any engineering. I might have a plot plan and I'm plopping my building down in here. I think that's probably one of the things that we can't forget about. You don't have a lot of information at the time. You're just looking, is Pueblo a good place to build this? You know, what are my roadblocks? What am I gonna have to? So that way I can be prepared and set my timeline, because time's money. And so I can say, okay, well, planning and zoning is gonna take me, I thought it was gonna take me a little less, but it's gonna take me a little longer. But you know, I gotta evaluate that. So within that, just think about the people that don't have all the information too.
Yeah, and that is something that has been discussed. And like I said, for our sketch plan review meetings, we are requiring that people submit a letter of intent and a site plan.
Yep.
That being said, it clearly says in our directions, your site plan can be an extremely basic pencil drawing you did on a piece of paper.
Yep.
All it has to show us is where you want the building to be on the property, where the property is, property lines, etc. But the more information you give us, the better your site plan is, the better we're going to be able to give you quality feedback that's going to help you.
That's great. That's a great message. I mean, let me know what let me know upfront.
Yeah.
You know, so
So, yeah, so that's the big thing. We do think it's really important that they do provide us with that site plan that
Yeah.
shows us a basic sketch of what their dream project is.
Yeah.
And a letter of intent that just explains to us what the business is, so that we're best prepared to like I said, just give them the input they need early on, so that they don't find out $1 million later that what they want to do isn't gonna work. So,
When you guys are busy, I mean, everybody's busy. You don't want people wasting your time.
Yeah.
With a pipe dream.
yeah,
To put it bluntly, really.
Sorry, but can't you do that, something like that in a tutorial as well, even just a description of the site, of site plan or site, sketch?
yep, that is actually gonna be the next one.
Okay.
We have. Jen and I have been working together to actually build that sketch plan application. And we're pretty much done with it, but it hasn't gone live yet. It's gonna go live, I think, after the next sketch plan review meeting, which is happening next Monday. And then after we have that live on the webpage, that's actually my plan to be the next tutorial video of how to submit your sketch plan review meeting application. And then we'll go from there. But in my mind, the way I'm imagining the portal is that is gonna be the next step, is you create your profile. And then if you're doing a commercial development, you're gonna sign up for a sketch plan review meeting. That way you find out all of those things you need to know even before you start the routing process. But then after you go through that, either realize, yes, this project's great, I'm moving forward with it, or no, there's way too many bumps that I'm gonna have to run into and I'm not gonna be able to do it. Then you can either create your routing or decide not to.
Is that a roadblock in other areas that the sketch plan, like, or any contractor here, like, you run into something, you're like, I don't even wanna do business there or something?
Well, I mean, but it's good to know, because I mean, sometimes when you have developers that come in, they might have 2 or 3 different places that they want to build up, you know? And so the premier place might be, you know, you get the plat, you basically just put something on there. It's very, very basic, you know, and then you say, what are my issues? Okay, CDOT's not gonna let you have access here. You're not gonna be able to do this, you know, so that might say, well, that's gonna hurt my business. Let me go to plan B. I'll set up another meeting with another sketch plan. So I would say that the more upfront knowledge that you have, the way better that you are.
You know, you make me think about Pueblo Urban Renewal Authority, you know, and sometimes how they help with developments where a sewer line isn't extended to where it needs to be, and they can take that infrastructure on, or someone that can facilitate that developer coming through, like Petco, you know, so there might be an opportunity where we get them involved, so they, you know, we're here catching the developer, but kind of re-steering them and saying, hey, let's have this conversation over here so you could be more productive.
Well, it might be a good project for a tip zone too, you know, like, you know, you never know.
Yeah, it feels like you guys are really trying to just specifically carve out, there's 2 paths. There's a due diligence path, and then there's I'm committed to, I've done my due diligence, I've chosen a specific site. There's I'm trying to get, you know, that site plan permit and everything.
So you're flexible
so-
in one path?
Yeah, the
What
due
it looks
diligence
like.
path is kind of what you mentioned. Am I even gonna come to Pueblo or buy this piece of ground? Or am I gonna punt and go to, you know, the third choice I had is actually the best choice because there's less off sites or they're not,
Yeah.
you know, making that site decision. And that's typically referred to as due diligence. Once you do that, then you're actually in full design mode, like how do I make this site work? And it's a whole nother layer of detail that you're going to the same people for. And just hearing you guys talk, I almost felt like you know, right now we have one path through the system and you're trying to, you know, identify between those, almost break out the due diligence side. It's like, are you early in the process? Then this is how you approach it. If you're trying to actually get to permit, this is how you approach it. And the things you need and how we can quickly get you answers and that sort of thing. Because in that due diligence side, you would bring up things like, you know, we have Petco, we have Urban Renewal, we have this, you know, we have all these agencies that will try to help you fund your infrastructure.
Yeah.
Where on the final site design, you already have all that hashed out, or you wouldn't have chosen your site. And now you're really in detail with a lot of the engineers at the county or city saying, you know, what do I physically have to build and give you to be able to go vertical and create my business.
Do I need any zoning changes? Do I need any access? Do I need any drainage changes because I don't have the footprint of the site? That's a great idea, breaking that out in the front end. That we're waiting just to see that. I think that needs to be, because that's gonna be our success of bringing businesses here, is their comfort.
Well, and to be honest, even if there's a project that wants to come here that we really want, that seems like a dream project. If it's not gonna work, I feel like it's almost better for them to know that right away, rather than waste months. Getting pushed around by all these different agencies, waiting on
Well, they all
stuff.
talk to each other too, and
Yeah.
if you're like, well, you know, it didn't work out, but they were super helpful and they told me that right away, I didn't waste a lot of money versus on the converse of that, you burn all kinds of money, you're not gonna have nice things to say about us.
Yeah, burn bridges, and so that's why I think there's just a lot of value to being able to give them all that input early on, so that they at least know we're being honest and like supportive of them trying to build what they wanna do. And also I think gives us a learning experience to know what is holding us back from getting these big programs moving forward. You know, it's not working here because we have a water resource issue or an electric resource issue, and that's something that we can try and address as a community. So next opportunity that comes around, we can actually find a way to make it work.
I was gonna list on there with Pura, Petco, other agencies that offer a different type of support model. That's bomber for a developer coming in and a company coming in. Sometimes they don't even know about it.
Correct. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So let me
They
just
don't even
ask-
know about it. And if we can
Yeah,
get
that's why I
that,
brought it up.
all of a
Yeah.
sudden they say, wow, they got this going on, or Pura
Yeah.
can come in here
Yeah.
and do me some, I'm in a
Get some
a
tax
Pura zone
breaks.
that I can, and it's still got a 10-year cycle or a 15-year cycle. I can get some tax break. Man, maybe we better go over here. Look at what they can do. This
It
is
might
gonna
be the
cheaper for us.
deciding factor.
Oh, absolutely. You give them money and give them long-term benefits that they can model their finance on with Pura. It's amazing.
I saw a question, or Louis saw a question.
You're talking about a pre-sketch plan review process that will go them through all the options before they go to sketch plan, because when they go to sketch plan, what happens normally is they go through your application checklist, you go, I need this, I need this, I need this, they go back and do that, so it's really tough not to find that. If we had a pre-process for that, where you list out all the agencies they can reach and what they can do for you, and then they get a good feel of what's going to happen before they ever go.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
see
almost
that.
want to capture that early on the website. I mean, just, are you looking into Pueblo, or are you ready to get started building? Because to Lewis's point earlier, it happens, we've seen it happen on projects where people get deep into the logistics of planning their building, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, I can't put a driveway here, or I can't even use this road.
Yeah.
I needed trucks on this road, right? So and I don't, there'll be some development there on the website as far as that's concerned, but almost like a step your way through. I got a button, I click it. I'm looking into Pueblo. Okay, we've got Petco available. We've got all these other agencies that can help us and really guide somebody there. And that's your sales pitch for Pueblo right there. There's your golden opportunity. If you got them clicking that button, you capitalize them.
Fine. Hey, cause I'm really interested in like what Brian said about that due diligence process. So Brian, when you do that, are you reaching out to all the entities? Like we're talking due diligence, you have 7 or maybe 3 or 4 sites, and like, how does that work? Are you reaching out to everybody else, or how does that work? I don't live in your world.
Right. Well, to me, it feels like it's changing, but in the old days, and the way I prefer it is I go directly to the departments. I have a site, I want to talk to sewer department about what infrastructure is around, and go to water, whether water's around. But you go to every single one and you find out what exists and what doesn't, and then you can have a discussion with them about, and sometimes it's close to chest, sometimes it's not. I was like, well, what do you think is gonna need, to be improved if we want to get this to work, or et cetera. And so I always like to have those conversations more on an individual basis, because I feel like it's not as formal. You don't feel like your words are being, you don't feel like you're committing to something in front of your entire group at the either county or city, that you're, representing this will happen. Lately, and I'm sure there's some here that do this more often than me, is it feels like I'm getting forced more and more to start at the big group meeting of all the department heads formally in the review of site process. Which is kind of nice, because then everybody, you get all that information at once. But at the same time, from my perspective as a private developer, I think it creates a very formal environment, a more rigid environment. Where everybody at that table is more talking the book. You know, these are the ordinances, these are the this, there's no behind the scene. You're not talking, okay, well, this is kind of a unique site, so you might have to, you know, talk about. We might have to figure out some sort of variance over here for this part of this, that, and the other. You're in a group of all the different department heads, and it feels like it becomes a more formal, like, well, you know, we're not allowed to do that. And you get less of the, but, you know, there might be a workaround if you go research this. Now, you know, I don't want to say necessarily that it works like that, because I mean, you do get those discussions going on in that big group, but I've just always felt that the one-on-one beforehand gives you a more meaningful answer. It may take a little more legwork than, you know, that group setting just is more about what the code says. And you don't realize that the roadblock, some of those roadblocks are more easy to overcome than what the setting indicates.
Would it be
Definitely
helpful
a
to get like,
suggestion of where to go around here? Why don't you try this if you, if this, maybe this would work? You're absolutely right. That's huge. How about Department of Transportation? They've crashed a few projects through the planning and zoning at the last of the wheels, like on Pueblo Boulevard. Have we worked through that in our permitting process? I mean, they got a new guy out there and he just kind of pressured the direction a little bit harder in a hard direction to get through. Have we passed that? I mean, we lost Dutch Brothers about left on Pueblo Boulevard. I mean, there's a new little gas station where the Village Inn was, but 3 or 4 projects come through there and left, went in, hit complications and just moved on out of Pueblo.
Yeah.
And that's been a big problem. I don't know, I can see highway department out on Highway 50. And then undeveloped areas that aren't so totally developed, like Pueblo Boulevard and Red Creeks, all that area, Regency area. So what's happening to that? Can anybody explain where that's going? That's.
I don't think anybody in this room.
Specific.
Yeah, I'm just saying, when I say a development that's coming in, they're doing planning and zoning and they're in a part of Pueblo like Regency and Pueblo Boulevard. Versus out towards.
Are you
Highway
talking
50.
Pueblo Boulevard specifically?
Well,
There's some things.
yeah.
right, on
Just talking
that.
state highway, right?
Well, Pueblo Boulevard's still a highway, but it's kind of not a highway anymore. It's in the middle of town, but it's still a highway.
It is.
But it's still owned by
Yeah,
CDOT.
yeah, that's
That's owned by CDOT.
Yeah.
So we're not talking transportation, we're talking CDOT. right?
CDOT, just CDOT. Yeah.
CDOT, not transportation.
Yeah, not our Pueblo transportation,
Okay.
but CDOT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they've been a little more difficult
Hold
to
on.
deal with.
Say that
Yeah,
again.
can we hear it, Yvonne?
That is really American thing, because all the DOTs and CDOT also is forced to work in a city area, even though that road is not in Colorado interest.
Right.
But they're basically forced, because US is basically lots of rural and doesn't have connection. That's why CDOT needs to be close to that, because that is their jurisdiction.
Yeah, that's why I
If
said,
believe me, that CDOT will be much more happier that they are not, that is not their jurisdiction.
sure,
They would like to
I-
see that
you know-
city
Well,
and
that's
then
the
not
thing.
have that issue, but considering they have a jurisdiction and they need to protect.
Yeah.
CDOT is basically somebody who is traveling from one side of Colorado to the other side of Colorado.
Yeah.
Right.
They are not considering local movement, me
No.
doing my job from Pueblo to Pueblo.
Yeah.
We are not their concern. They need to protect the integrity of the bigger network of I-25 or other bigger roads.
right, it's slow, it's slow in traffic. That's why we-
I just think,
Development, if that development will reduce level of service or safety parameters of the network. Developers always can, they're encouraged to develop solution.
Yeah.
So if you develop that amount of traffic, that will create issue, but if you, in your project, add dedicated right lane for that movement, that level of service will not be degraded and it will be safe. And that is something that needs to be placed on developer. Because they will earn money from developing that. They cannot cause issue on a public network because network is for everyone, not for.
Right.
So even though we want development, we cannot allow that development to cost everybody who's using that network. So that is basically their reasoning and why they're trying to protect Pueblo Boulevard, because they will get, we will get something similar as a couple of roads in Spring. That have lots of issues down there, they cannot fix it. Because it's strictly local, but this on a trajectory of the bigger road. And when you put in the same road, people go locals, they went to job and a daycare and a bus care and a school and things like that. And somebody who just want to cross Colorado. He wants to drive 75 a minimum without disturbance. The other guy wants to go left and right, that's why we have it. Local network is clear.
But your question is regarding CDOT being prohibitive to
Challenging.
development or, yeah, a
It's
challenge.
challenging in the
or-
permit process, a lot of stuff come up and then all of a sudden their budgets are off the mark.
We deal with CDOT on a regular basis. You don't have to learn with CDOT. They have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and a 25-year plan. For them to deviate from those plans, it's an act of Congress.
Yeah,
They earmark money and it's locked in. So to Yvonne's point, the best thing we can do if you're gonna develop along the CDOT corridors is to bring something to the table that keeps their level of service and safety intact. Otherwise, they look at the big plan and they're gonna be very, very resistant.
If it interferes with the big plan, yeah, right, so if the plan was to always go this way and now you're asking with this project to take a left turn and we envision it going straight, good luck.
CDOT has a Pueblo Boulevard long-term plan.
Yeah, I know.
So if I'm seeing it's Powers Boulevard, County, there's great development on there, but when you look at it, they all have roads coming off with that Powers. that defeat The traffic.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what they.
these
that's
cell
their
lanes
five-year
and all
plan.
that, yeah.
And when you go develop it, they already know in Springs, we gotta have a road coming off of here, because they're not gonna let us have it. You're not gonna get access off that road.
But even if we know some of those things, you know, the 5 to 10-year plans and we have that built in, then you come here and you want to develop, well, you want to develop off Pueblo Boulevard, well, we're gonna tell you right now, you need to make an access road, you need to do something like that.
Acceleration
So,
lane,
yeah, so
acceleration
that-
lane.
Well,
right, so
some-
that you know.
Some of that is pure interpretation in our local regional CDOT, because some of the projects you're referring to is they were not trying to access Pueblo Boulevard directly. And the fight they got into is that there's a gray area where it was getting offloaded on not private, but public city-owned streets that were not Pueblo Boulevard.
Right.
And then they decided they had jurisdiction to say, no, you're not allowed to do that because you're close enough to my highway. That, from what I understand, is singular to our CDOT region currently and the way they interpret those rules with the city.
That's what I.
And that has, from my understanding, has not been resolved.
Because when they do it
With
elsewhere.
some of the meetings I've been in with Andrew and Joe
With this-
O'Brien and
with
stuff,
Pueblo Boulevard
that they're
specifically.
still that.
Yeah, both of these.
Their
businesses were
interpretation of those
entering
rules.
Pueblo Boulevard on an already existing street,
I
not
know.
entering Pueblo Boulevard. They weren't touching Pueblo Boulevard. They were coming in off of another street to come into Pueblo Boulevard, but they also had 3 or 4 streams to bring business in and business out. But the highway department decided no, because you're on your next Pueblo Boulevard, even though you're not entering Pueblo Boulevard. And the developers have done stuff all over the country and the state and said, well, we don't have this problem here. Why are you bringing it down here? That was where that phone, just because I was on that phone call and referencing something else, but,
Yeah,
and they brought that same scenario, and that's how they explained the scenario to me. They said, why are you down here in Pueblo when we're not entering Pueblo Boulevard? But you're making us go through handstands and flips here when we're up here in Denver and we're up here in Golden or wherever, and we're doing almost the same scenario, but they're not doing this to us. Why are you doing it in Pueblo? So they think it's us,
mhm.
and that's for our development, selling and developing Pueblo. That's the part that, how do we fix that so we're in alignment, because it is an interpretation.
Yeah,
Thank you for explaining it better, because-
and I'm not entirely sure, and I've had conversations both with the city and with CDOT kind of about specifically some of those on Pueblo Boulevard, and the feedback that I've gotten is that in a lot of those cases, CDOT isn't saying no. They're saying, here's what you need to be aware of in order to do this. And usually that comes down to, if you're gonna increase traffic through our area, you're gonna have to plan on, there's gonna have to be a stoplight here eventually. There's gonna have to be a deceleration lane here someday. And since you're one of the developers that's gonna spur on the need for that, you're going to need to put in a pro forma of a certain amount of money that will go towards that project when it comes to happen. So you just have to be aware of that going into this, that you're committing yourself to paying for 1/4 of a $750,000 traffic thing. Or something like that, as an example.
I think the only thing we can really do from our end, as far as trying to develop business and streamlining that process, is build a relationship with CDOT. And then have identified, if possible, what their plans are to guide the potential applicant, like, hey, just as a heads up, if you want to build something here, you might have to put in a percentage of a stoplight or something like that, or in an XL decel lane or something.
I think the thing that I want to familiarize myself with a little bit more is in what instances can Tura step in and help with some of that stuff? Because I'm specifically in some of these areas, like down on South Pueblo Boulevard, I believe that they have some funds available because they've been able to raise some TIF money because of like the lows down there and stuff like that. But I'm always afraid to step in and say anything about
Pura's
that.
got, it's still a.
Or sorry,
district.
not Tura,
Pura,
Pura.
yeah, that's still a
I was saying
district.
Trinidad Urban. Or
Everything on the north side of the road, the problem on the south side of the road is we don't have so enough to handle capacity, so we've hit a hit wall right there. Right.
But all we have to do again is build the relationships with all those organizations, and then talk to Jared, talk to Pura, talk to Pedco, talk to all them. Have their link on our site and say, hey, what do you guys want to put in here as far as advertisement for your services, and make sure everybody's on board. I mean, that's legitimately all we can do.
That's
And
good.
what
I
we
love
should
that,
do.
I love that tool on the system. I think
Yeah.
it's a great tool.
Yeah.
Sure, it's not easy. Our Middle Bar Boulevard, of course, is intersecting with Pueblo Boulevard. It was earmarked 10 years ago that it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
So that made it, and you would think that would make it green light go, it was not.
Yeah.
At all. So
Yeah.
I think what you alluded to is you get with the city and you say, I'm gonna do development, you're on your process, you've done your design work, you've done your stormwater, you've done all that. And then you're about ready, and then CDOT said, no, you're not. Boulevard, because you're impacting traffic. And
Well,
it
and that-
comes to a dead stall. So to actually, you need to know that both agencies that be
Yep.
involved, the first step of the process.
And you need to know that when you do the development inquiry. I mean, it'd be great to have something on the site where it's saying, hey, I'm interested in this site. And you could have a designated person you blast that out to, not only with the potential obstacles like CDOT, things like that, but to people that could support you, like Urban Renewal or Pedco, and say, hey, we've got, you know, Anonymous or whoever it is, some business that's got a development inquiry on Pueblo Boulevard, off Regency. Do you have impact on, you know, is there CDOT impact on this site? If so, what is it?
Well, and remember that the kickback on this to a lot of developers, both in town and out of town, is it shouldn't matter how far away from the highway you are when you're creating something. If you're not touching the highway, they shouldn't have jurisdiction over you. I mean, if I'm a mile away and create 10,000 traffics with a new residence, or I'm a 1/4 mile away and do the same thing, their jurisdiction stops at if you're not creating a new curb cut, you're not creating a new intersection, you're not doing something.
So I'll tell you.
So why is it that they get to review something that's 2 blocks off, but they
That is
don't review something that's a mile away?
Traffic impact study will be required because you won't be taking traffic and putting it onto their roadway network, because all roads lead to the bigger road, right? We had to do a year-long traffic impact study for Middle Water Boulevard, which was earmarked 10 years previous, because a year to analyze.
Well, but you were touching theirs, you were intersecting.
Matter-
You were creating an intersection, you were creating an improvement that touched their.
We had to do an industrial first.
I mean, when I understand, I do traffic studies for neighborhoods in town,
I can explain
And-
why you are wrong.
but I've done plenty of, I've done what you're talking about. And CDOT did not get to tell me that South Point did not happen until I did whatever. Or El Camino or whatever. Now, when I brought Bandera and touched CDOT, yeah, they got to tell me to do exactly what I was gonna do, because suddenly I created a new entrance, I had to build turn lanes, I had to do all sorts of stuff to their highway because I was directly changing their infrastructure.
Do you want explanation? When you have, CDOT has their own road, then the city is attached to that road. City road or CDOT is just an access. So access is given for certain amount and structural flow. So your development, even on a city road, changing access to CDOT. So CDOT, you have right to tell city, your access will have more traffic than previously, so you need to review it. And city choosing to put that liability on you because you are a developer. That's why it's not important, are you touching road or not?
So anything that will, so see,
That
a
impact.
CDOT road or something is gonna be in their minds, the catch-all. And anything downstream from that affects that traffic flow eventually on to CDOT, they can hold your feet to the fire for affecting that eventual.
We're doing it at Purcell Industrial right now. We had to do a traffic impact analysis. So it's not CDOT touching other than it goes over.
But how far out is that? I think to Brian's point too, like
Yeah.
how far out is that? Because
That is.
at some point, everything's gonna touch I-25.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like, if you look at Northern and Pueblo Boulevard, I built something right in the middle of Prairie.
Yeah.
I'm affecting
Everything.
both, you know?
That's why we actually doing traffic study. Nobody can tell you without traffic study.
Yeah.
That's why you're doing
No.
traffic studies, amount of impact. So if traffic studies show that you are too far and you do not have impact, you're free to go. But depend, if you're developing something that will generate 10,000 vehicles and you are next parcel to them, that will be huge impact. But if you are half mile and you have something that is small, that will not collect people from interstate, that will be small impact. But for that, that's actually the reason why we do traffic studies.
But are there set parameters on the length of traffic study and everything else like that, or that's situationally dependent too?
They
Change.
So then we need, then the only thing we can do again is the relationship with CDOT
Yes.
and try and
And
have a good,
Have a
yeah,
conversation,
have a good working relationship with them.
right?
That's it.
And I'd say that's the biggest feedback I got from CDOT when I met with them specifically on this is. They just feel sometimes in the past, they feel like. Some of either the developers or the development agencies. Have kind of gone out of their way to not bring them into the conversation early. Because they don't want to hit that roadblock. And then they're like, you're still gonna hit the roadblock. You're just not gonna learn about it like as early as you want. So it's best to like bring us into the conversation as early as possible so we can find a solution.
Yeah, and at that point, you might be bitter about it. 'cause
Yeah.
you tried to hide it from them.
Exactly. So that's the feedback that I've gotten from CDOT when having this
Then
conversation.
it's our job to tell the potential contractor, or developer, this is gonna happen, like, you need to have an impact study, it's gonna happen.
That might be step
Might as
one.
well do it first.
But the address that they give you is gonna show up on that, those are the areas, because you're gonna know it's a highway.
Yeah.
It would have helped, they might have, but they also want, they want traffic. So it's one of these things
Mhm.
that they budget in. But when you're plotting and subdividing and doing this whole area where you've got R5, R1, B3, B4, 5, and you have a certain amount of acreage, well, those. When that's done originally, you're gonna have some traffic and impact already when you're
Oh,
doing
you know,
the
I
streets
mean,
and everything.
I didn't make,
From a major thoroughfare to just. a
yeah,
smaller
you have to
street.
do traffic studies to submit anything.
When you're doing your whole subdivision, you haven't built nothing else.
I'm just saying the scope, it is scope created by CDOT. You know, what is happening now and how they act is not how they acted 5 years ago,
Yeah.
10 years ago, or 15 years ago.
Oh,
And
you
what
mean-
they say they have
Oh,
jurisdictional
yeah.
now.
No, you
Is
mean
what they
government
had
grows and
jurisdiction over.
absorbs more than it should. I can say
No,
that.
I mean, between the governments even, not.
Man, you're
He's
not
got-
in disagreement.
He's got a new book, he's gonna go back and go to these guidelines that he just learned.
Yeah.
And then from everybody I've talked to, that's what happened in our region. Ours is the only region that is interpreting these rules this way.
But the
I mean,
long,
and, you know, and I'm not saying you call them back to the free rodeo of you get to do whatever you want. I mean, I understand the long range and short range traffic studies, et cetera, but it's like
When
Have
you
you
did
heard
the
reasons
subdivision,
why?
though, and you have a business zoning, you have already traffic impact. That's why you're doing either major thoroughfare streets, or you're doing minor streets. I know that's generating what you can build there when you subdivided it at the very beginning.
well, and
So
that's
that
one of your
kind of
biggest
should have all been known.
costs. If you're on the edge and you're told to build an arterial street, it's like,
Well,
wow.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're gonna be using that street at that level for a long time.
I tend to agree with Zach in that we need to keep and establish networks and develop relationships with any agency, including CDOT. I mean, I just recently had a successful thing with them, and the poor gal on the other side, my supervisor quit or went to some other, so they get changeover too. You know, and all of a sudden it's a newbie that doesn't know anything, so we need to understand the human quality of that, but
Yeah.
all your points are valid. It's like, I didn't understand that, you know, even though they're not touching the highway, you know, there's an impact to the flow. And so that's why you have to do traffic studies. It kind of now makes sense. But I mean, I think the networking and our link in our website is gonna be our key.
Well, yeah,
Sure,
and
gonna help.
to your point, Brian, like that's on us in bloated government.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows me knows I say that all the time. Everybody online.
but also,
But it's our job to talk to them and say, why is this happening? Why is there potential scope creep of in Pueblo specifically or whatever? And we try to address that until we get there. I think to what Mark just said, man, we gotta try and build those relationships. And
Yeah.
it's
Is
the
there-
intermediary between developer and permitting.
And Wally, you're our lead, and so you know what we're trying to do here, so maybe go sit down with them and just say, we're trying to make a beltway.
Yeah.
A one-stop shop, so it's easier to understand, how can we make what you're trying to explain easier to understand?
Right.
And what are our options? So
Well,
we can
and
put it
what I
in
heard from
the-
you, Wally, is that they're kind of upset that they get ignored or pushed to the side and they don't even want to be approached. Let's get them up front, you know, let's give them to be the number one. This is your incentive, CDOT, to participate. Is we're putting you front and center of what your requirements are.
Josias
You know.
has something to say.
Yeah, it was similar to that. I mean, at any place, we have different representatives. They maybe don't need to be a part of the board, but can we invite someone who would be an advocate or peacemaker from their group that would be able to come? Yeah, that would be able to come, I'm just saying, they would be able to come and be willing to be like, hey, guys, here's some advice I have for you.
To this?
Yes, to this, just
Yeah,
to
Oh,
simply
yeah, we'll get them here next.
get someone here and be like, hey, we need
I've
your
heard Whitman
input.
used to work for the city, you know, city planning, and now she's at.
I'd like to have some of them.
Yeah, and
Like,
I've
these are
got a decent
transportation.
relationship with folks from CDOT,
Yeah.
so.
I think getting them in and saying, hey, your voice matters, might go a long ways with building a relationship. And then to a business coming in to be like, oh, okay, they're not finding out on the back end, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people attracted to come here.
Yeah.
So that means put aside whatever,
Yeah.
get the people that we need in, and they're a big part of it. So we need a voice, good or bad, negative or positive. More permits, less permits, good or bad, we need a voice from them, because the reality is, if they're turning away business because they feel shafted, then we should probably reach out and do something.
Well,
I mean, just, I'm sorry, go ahead.
to the degree that Mark has said previously, and I appreciate that, Mark, when you said you took over PRBD, that more than just having your inspectors say, no, this doesn't pass. You've actually had them put some building codes, hey, it doesn't pass because subsection 201.3, you know, here's why. It'd be helpful, I feel like, to that degree too, for developers and contractors, businesses, if there was some sort of, I mean, there's gotta be a code that DOT is going off of some degree that is helping them make, I would hope that's making these authorizations, no, X amount of traffic can't be produced, you know, in this area. And so even if developers and people could understand that, they could understand right off the bat, well, if you're Walmart bringing in, 100,000 people a day, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work here, and we can understand that. Here's what the things we're gonna have to do before you even get to DOT.
So that's
But if
great.
they could help bring some of those reasons,
Yeah.
what, instead of just, no, that won't work.
That's a great example. Walmart Pueblo West is trying to put it in a gas station. They claim
They all
there's no net increase in vehicles. We're going, wait a minute, how can you have no net increase in vehicles? CDOT and us partnered together. We got that resolved. They were very good to work with, by the way. They're very supportive. But you gotta start thinking about traffic signalization, right? You got a traffic signal that's half a mile or a quarter mile apart. They got synchronized.
Yeah.
One's on our network, one's on their network. You gotta work with it at some point in time. So bringing them to the table early,
That's a good point.
they're not resistance. They are open-minded, open here. They've been great with us, but you gotta build that partnership.
And I think that, to your point, it gives them the ability to be transparent about what their requirements are,
That's
right?
NUTC.
And,
my
yeah,
partner here,
and
that's
so,
the guy.
and so that's like with my, inspectors, it's like, yeah, they're calling you racist and this and that, so show them the section mark, show them what it is in black and white, And if we give CDOT that opportunity to say, guys, it's been years and years, this is what our requirements are. That's, this is what we're working toward, the 10-year, 15, 25-year plan. This is what it is, and this is how your business affects it. Let's have that as the first conversation. Let's have them here in the portal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just wanna say just one thing. I mean, that we can't forget why we're here. We're trying to make everything better. I mean, I think it's important. Like, I love hearing everybody's perspective, and I think it's so important that Wally hears it. Because I mean, at the end of the day, he's gonna be our voice out there, wherever we need to bring in, however we need to change the website, however, whatever revamping we need to do, that's what we're here to do. And so, I learned a lot today, I mean, about traffic studies and about how, things are impacted, and I love that. And I love hearing your perspective and your frustrations. And again, we're here to try to make a difference, even though a lot of the time we're frustrated because we live here in Pueblo and we're just angry about things, but let's keep that in mind and give Wally the ammunition to try to help us.
Why are you so mad? CDOT, like, we've had many meetings with them, but even the ditches out on 36, I mean, we're working with them.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point to bring that. They'll come, we'll get them to the next meeting.
Yeah, and get their input, I think, the relationship.
That'd be
Get
good.
get their input,
Right.
be like, hey, more business comes here, more work for you, more people,
Yeah.
higher salary. I mean, like, we all benefit. I mean, like, seriously, like,
All good.
we all benefit from it.
Yeah.
Let's just work together.
And in my meetings with them, like, they want development too. They live in this community. They would love to have
See how we can
the new,
get them on the website and get that as part of like, hey, make sure you check with X person or whatever we send
And
them
these,
to.
and
It's
these are
it's
just
gotta be
great,
a part
great
of it.
talking points
Yeah.
for you, Wally, in your next conversation. We don't reach out to them like. you do.
yeah. I've met with them a few times. Honestly, I've had great conversations with them.
Yeah.
But like, it really is just, getting everybody that
Yeah.
needs to be in that conversation together.
Call them Team Pueblo.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to be Team
Will you
Pueblo.
sponsor
Team Pueblo.
I am gonna take a minute to try and get us back on track just for a few minutes, because I know a few of you have to leave early. And we don't have much to get to before we get back to just a round table where we can go around and just talk about these development issues that we're all having. But yeah, back to just the update on sketch plan review. Like I said, we're about to change it, the way that people submit when it's happening, combined with Pueblo West. The other big component of it is we're trying to get more of the reviewing agencies into OpenGov to be able to provide their feedback in that platform and standardize the way that they're getting that feedback. Because like I said before, in some cases, it's not absorbed. It's said one time at a meeting, no notes are about it, nothing's provided afterwards. And so it becomes an issue later down. So
Can I just say one thing that I don't wanna, I know we're on schedule.
yeah,
I just wanna hear it. So Carmen, when we start talking about like, Pueblo West Metro and Pueblo West Architectural Committee, is that what we're talking about? Bringing them into the portal or no, or is that still gonna differentiate as a separate entity that we have to submit to, or how do we tie that all into
We're
one?
gonna use Wally.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So that's what Wally you're talking about,
and yes,
bringing everybody in.
And to
Okay.
answer your
Which would
question,
make your life a lot easier too.
And ours.
we
Yeah.
we are bringing them into the portal.
Okay,
Like
good.
like I said, when all of the agencies signed on to OpenGov, they all signed on to their own individual OpenGovs. And one of the first questions I had with Carmen when I started was, why does Pueblo West have their own? Like, why, like,
Yes.
they're part of the county, why aren't they just on the counties? And I talked to both her and I talked to Christian out in Pueblo West, and we're like, I don't really know, like, why can't we be? And so that's something that we're actively having regular meetings with our attorneys to make sure that there's nothing like prohibiting us from being able to do that. But that's something that we're actively doing, and I'm about 90% sure that we're gonna be able to accomplish that.
That'd be nice.
I will say, like, it is proving to be more difficult to do something like that with the city, that there's so much built into their OpenGov platform. That likely isn't gonna happen. There probably still is gonna be a degree of separation between those two. But that's actually what the portal is for, so that both of those platforms can be corresponding with the portal. Whenever somebody puts their information in there, it shoots them in the direction they need to go, and it creates that line of communication between them.
That's good.
But more importantly than the gizmo is just all of us knowing how to communicate with each other better, and knowing in what instances it's city, what instances it's county, and trusting each other to be able to like do what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So,
To that point, though, we need to set a system up, and it can't be it can't hinge on a person.
Yeah.
And we all know why, people leave.
Yep.
And then if Wally was the gatekeeper to everything and you get offered $5 million to go somewhere else, and the whole thing's. But we do, and I think that's what we're doing, is we're trying to set up a system.
Yeah.
And continuously we can roll on after any of us are in any of these
It's a great point,
positions.
Zach, for sure.
and I think that just goes back to like our desire to standardize things.
Yeah.
Where like. That everybody understands the procedure. When somebody steps away, it's not the procedure that's built in their mind, it's something that's across the board that we can all like continue with.
So speaking of that, I mean, you've got this membership to the .gov. County's got one, city's got one, Pueblo West got one. How can we bring? Do they have a contractual obligation for a term into that software? We have a software company, so.
They do.
Okay, and what is that term relationship? Is it,
I think it's different between each agency, whatever they signed up for with OpenGov.
so,
The thing is, even with Pueblo West, I think they're on like a 3-year contract, like they can't actually leave for another couple of years.
but once that's done, can we merge them with the county?
I think we're doing it before then. Like, I think we
Okay.
came to the conclusion that even though they have that contract, the value that we would get from them integrating into ours is more valuable than them staying separated, even if for the next couple of years, they're continuing with that.
And they're your providers, so there should be some way to negotiate a settlement.
That's one of the things that are,
Is that, am I in the wrong?
that is one of the things we're having.
Getting there,
Okay.
it's easy to say.
Yeah, I know, well,
And that is one of the things that our attorney, or not our attorney, the Pueblo West attorney is looking into, is what are the terms of them leaving that contract?
oh, I know, there's certain people, but software and support, you
Yeah.
take the smart people and they keep writing coding language.
Yeah.
And you keep adapting so we can still talk to the big sky and the pie in the sky.
Yeah.
And that changes just because they want to sell something more, so all these guys have to change. So there is some cost maintaining it for them, but at the same stroke of the pen. I would hope that we could do that. I think Zach, we talked about that, merging those with the county and the city. And I know the cities are a little more complicated, but as we merge, it would still be nice somewhere down the line to one button. When I was in Texas, it was
Yeah.
one, and county and city were all together. Now, yeah, they got some bumps in the road. But it was a great experience, but it was one place.
I agree, and that is how it is in El Paso County, it's all under Pikes Peak Regional. That's how it is in Denver, it's city and county of Denver. But yeah, I think that we just need help getting a little bit more buy-in.
Yeah, little by little steps, baby steps, have success stories, and then pretty soon it's all.
Yeah.
Every year, we're gonna grab these 5 items or
Yeah.
these 3 things, bring them together.
I agree, so yeah, so right now, this year, like our real big goal is to the county and Pueblo West. Get them on the same page, get everything running better in a way that we can display, hey, this is actually working for us. Then hopefully we can work with the city to like I said, it's not like we're doing everything better. There's definitely things that they are doing better than us. But we need to take some of those things and take them onto our methods.
Those could be the 3 or 4 items that we
Yeah.
bring while we're bringing in Pueblo West. And then that stuff's over here, now we'll have to work on these pieces.
Totally.
Everybody
So,
operating will learn how to run, that's the other thing,
yeah.
so.
But that is the biggest thing is I think that's the biggest struggle of the program, like looking at it a few years ago. The goal of this was to bring all of this together. Pueblo Means Business was supposed to bring city, county, Pueblo West Regional Building Department together, and even watching the video from a few years ago, like it was all supposed to be in this building, and we've hit some road bumps. But it's not something we're like giving up on, and we just need to figure out kind of how that is gonna take shape. And yeah, just any support we can get to kind of get more buy-in. I'm personally, I wish we had more people from the city here tonight so we can have this conversation with them.
Yeah, and I've talked to them, there was some things that came up and they were apologetic for not being here.
Yeah,
But the department,
At some point, if
you
there's
guys got the county. You're here beautifully, and then it's able to answer questions.
Right, yeah.
But to have them here be part of this narrative.
We're actively searching for that to happen.
Okay.
So at some point, there needs to be a strategy. If the goal is to get everybody together,
Mhm.
whether it's a 1-year, 2-year, or 3-year strategy, there needs to be a plan.
Yeah.
So whatever that plan is, if it is show buy-in and then.
Well,
But
success-
hopefully there is some type of, yeah,
But success
Mhm.
creates that buy-in.
That's right.
So we start moving, collaborating with Pueblo West, we're efficient, we're moving, projects are bam, 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 bam. Well, maybe there is something going on over there. Let's see what we can do to
Yeah.
better collaborate.
and like I said, I've really enjoyed working with the city's planning department. I think they've got some really brilliant people there that are getting a lot of things done that we can learn a lot from. We just, got to figure out how to connect better and create a more collaborative relationship. Okay, so now I want to move on real quick. There were a couple things we talked on last time that we kind of set as goals. One of them was this pinging feature of being able to ping contractors when one of the development agencies is waiting on something from them. We're working on that at the county. We're still working with the city to convince them that that's a good idea for them to do as well. But that's another thing that we're gonna take it on, make it start working. The thing that somebody brought up at one of the meetings I had recently is, yes, it'd be good to do that with the developers. But that's like more of a process. That's something that we actively have to work with OpenGov to make our software be able to do that, which we are working towards. But I personally think that we should all be doing a better job of creating a pinging feature for the development agencies. That when a developer's waiting on something, they're getting poked of, hey, you need to sign off on this, you need to do this. And that's something we don't need to wait on the software to do. That's something that's already available to do. We just need to create an understanding between all the agencies that we should do that. And that's my opinion. That's not like a consensus of like what everybody in the development agency community thinks, but it's just something that I would encourage, because we're wanting to create that for the developers. But meanwhile, it's not always the developers that we're waiting on for them to send us revised plans or anything like that. There are times that we're waiting on the
So one of the things
agencies.
I brought up, excuse me, the pinging item, can we get a software that attached to a .gov that pings your texts?
Yeah.
Because I'm tied into things that I get messaged when I'm doing something or need something, it pings the text.
Yep.
Because I'm not in front of my computer.
Yeah.
So.
We are actively working towards that. We do need to do something about and Carmen can probably speak on this a little bit better than I can because I'm forgetting the word. But the export that they're giving us of all the information when somebody puts it into the system currently doesn't give us the information to be able to do that. And we're updating our export to be able to do that. But it's gonna take at least a couple months before that's fully integrated into the software. Then the other piece of it is it's illegal for us to do that without them opting in.
Right.
Yeah, them like signing up that that's a feature that they want.
Yeah.
So those are the two big things about it, is we're working towards being able to do that. But then we also need to allow the customer to sign up for that feature. So it's not like something that's automatically gonna happen. But
And Wally, to your point, I mean, the pinging, it might not be a gizmo thing, but it might be a project management thing. We have a monthly, bi-monthly huddle.
Yep.
Where we actually bring up everything that's been submitted for the past 10 days, and I have all my chiefs in a room, and we say, okay, have we touched this? Is it on its way? Because what was happening is we doubled our staff, but it was still happening, that things were slipping through. It's like, so things are invisible in the gizmo sometimes, and we have to be real life people saying, I talked to that guy, he's, you know, he's out of money or whatever, you know, but it's okay, it's not on our plate. It's hot potato type of thing. And we have to farm it through our deal and see that's that. We're also going on the other end in the building department, we're saying, whoo, this guy's at 179 days and 180 days, and your permit expires. Why don't you give him a call, see if he wants to extend that or what the deal is, you know?
Yeah.
But we're having to do that manually right now, and we're gonna try to get better at that, but at least we're looking now at that. And so I don't know what that's the vertical construction, the MEP building department. I don't know what they're doing on the city side or the county side in order to get that quality control technically.
well, and in reality, just all projects are different. Like some
Right.
people are doing
And
huge
you should be
development
that
projects that.
Yeah.
Need to know when we're waiting on something for them, because it might have just got lost in all of the different applications and paperwork of it.
But the point is that they're not waiting on us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was my goal with the huddle.
We assign a permit specialist, well, behind me right here.
Oh.
They're the quarterback. It's like I get the ball and nobody catches, right? They're the
Good.
Quarterback, they
Yeah.
disseminate, they do a quick review, they disseminate to everybody that needs to do whatever needs to happen. And then we have timers established, then opened up and say, this is sitting idle for 7 days. And it pings us. We then look and say, okay, what's going on? Do they think we're waiting on us, or do you think we're waiting on them?
And that's such a great thing that we could cross talk with the city, because the city, like you're saying, they're brilliant people out there that do tremendous things, but I think that pinging thing internally, are they waiting on us? You know, it can't happen that way. We need to get it off our plate.
Yeah.
And open up, it's like after 3 days, it has to be looked at, you know, and it lets us know, it'll tell us, hey, you know, hey, you need to look at this. If it's active, then not our end, we put it on hold.
But I think that's only if you set it up to do that.
Yeah.
And then if you don't set it up to do that,
But that is set
it
up,
doesn't.
like, whoever is setting up OpenGov is
Yeah.
setting that.
Right.
So G cannot set that up.
Yeah.
I set 3 reminders for him,
Right.
7 days, 3 days, and 1 day before the scheduling.
Yeah.
He cannot cancel them.
Mhm.
So if we set up application properly and put reminders for us, because yes, everybody like to see that their project is special, it's not. And we need to track all of that. So
Yeah.
basically, I put reminders for myself. Because we have so many cases that need to jump, and it's sometimes good to be reminded twice.
Yes.
Right.
That's why we have a biggest issue with cold applications. We ask something from them, and then the big pause. Because they didn't react, and we do not have a reminder, because we did what we need to do. We're waiting them to provide us information.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's why I see that as a big issue.
But that's how it slips
Good to
through.
remind.
Yeah.
Like, we did what we're supposed to do, but then they didn't respond.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the beauty of open, that it's all time.
No, that's,
That's why.
that's the classic,
everybody
we're
that
both
comes to us
waiting on
goes
each other,
to-
not realizing who
It's all time.
missed
Yeah,
the.
But
Yeah,
on
there's
us.
no first in
That's
that.
on us, we own it.
But that's another one of those things that I just really think it'd be beneficial for us to standardize across the board, that all of us are getting those 7-day, 3-day, 1-day reminders, or whatever it might be, because though you all have set it up that way,
That's
not
for
everybody
That's
has.
for public works.
Yeah,
That's not
exactly.
for all others.
Yeah.
So we need to spend more time in tailoring our applications. I create so many things in OpenGov. Soon as we've done something and my inspector check the box, automatically OpenGov will generate document and notify applicant, okay, this is done, and now your next step is this.
Yeah.
So we can use that platform for much more than just to store documents inside.
You can-
Platform has lots of potential for interaction. I always encourage property owners or whoever apply, we can have guests. I want property owner to be down there when. When we talking about, or to be possibility to come down. He's invited, it's up to him, will he look or not? Because it's hard for us to talk, I don't think it's fair for us to talk with, for me to talk with traffic engineer doing a study without a property owner. Because some things are a property owner to decide, not on him. He needs to say what is the best solution. But the property owner basically then needs to decide. So that's why it's good to include everybody who is involved. Property owner, subcontractor, if you're doing right of way permit, you need to have a person who did your traffic control plan. Who's that person too? Because if you require change in traffic control plan and you did not add as a guest your traffic control designer, then you need to send him an email and tell him exactly what I tell to you. And then when he send that to you to submit an application. But if you just add him as a guest, he's notified, traffic control plan needs update, he can go inside, update, you don't need to do nothing.
We need to do a better job messaging that because that gets lost. People don't know that. They don't
Yeah.
know they can invite guests. So we need to do that better job.
Yep, and you've created that instructions on how to do that.
Step already
That's
now,
actually a great point, because it's, when I submitted, I think it was Jen Wagner that told me, like she said, you can sign up guests, Louis, and I was like, oh, no, you can't. And so next time I submitted, I paid really close attention, and it is right there. You
Yeah.
can sign up guests.
And that's one thing we've discussed is we want to encourage people to
Yeah.
put those people
Yeah.
on there as early in the process as we
Yes.
can.
Yeah.
Just so their entire team can be aware of what's happening, and when something is needed, that message gets across to everybody, because sometimes the person who needs to know that isn't the person who's getting that message.
100.
So,
100.
cool. So yeah, that's something we're working towards. But again, as far as the pinging feature for the clients, it's not something that we can just do overnight, but we are working towards that. But like I said, I do think internally, we should try and do that as soon as we can.
Something like even with the pinging feature, I don't know, just something comes to mind on my end. Do you ever log into your Department of Revenue site? Oh, you probably have your account to take care of that. So when I log in for our business, our Department of Revenue, I've got sales tax license, wage withholding license, taxes. I've got special event license. I have retail fee license. I've got 5 or 6 licenses through the Department of Revenue. And when I log in, I can scroll on one page and see all of them. And they're all either green, which means I'm good. I don't like my sales tax, it's coming up quarter. Yeah, I already paid it for the, quarter. So it's green. Don't have to worry about that. Don't have to file a return until January. I go to my wage withholding, it's due in 10 days. It'll tell me right there. If I go to which I have things that take care of it, but I can log in and make sure that everything's good in a quick, it takes 2 seconds. I can log in and see 5 different accounts right there. One's green, one's yellow, meaning in 10 days. I forget what the timeline is when it starts turning yellow, but it's going to need a notice pretty soon. In 15 days, you have to file, or it's good, or, red, it's overdue, or you owe, and it'll say right there, you owe X amount. But even something like that, I don't know on the dashboard, but pinging you can log in, you can see 5 different permits. And that's what I was asking Louise, 5 different permits and see, hey, green, this one's yellow because it's going to need to be addressed, or something needs to be fixed on it, or red because, and then from there I can click in and it can expand on that license and see what needs to be done, or file a return or something like that. But it's pretty quick right there. I can scroll down the page and I can see boom, 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 what's good, what's not, and then I can address that right away.
Yeah, similar in OpenGov.
Yeah.
It's very similar in OpenGov. As a user, you have your profile, you have all completed and all active permits. When you see your active permits, if they're orange, they're on hold, something is required. If they're green, they're done. If they're blue, they're in progress. If they're red, they're rejected. So it's kind of similar. I assuming it's different looking, but grammatically everything is same.
And then there's also drafts. If you have a draft and then you just say draft, it'll say draft, like, oh, I did that.
Wally, for a lot of these, these are good points, and I'm glad that Josh asked that question, because a lot of us, in this place has not even been in OpenGov or CityGov, I mean, it might not be a bad idea to just kind of like. Just show us what the platform is and just show us what it is. I mean, like what we're seeing, so that way we get a full understanding. And I mean, you can think about that for a little bit, but like, I was talking to Josh and I almost want him to come to my office so I could show him.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Well, and I think that's a big
if
thing.
that's what he's in his head, you know?
Is the tutorial video I showed you tonight is for the portal, but we're
Yeah.
planning on making them also for OpenGov.
Gotcha.
And so even if it's just at one of the meetings, just throw on a tutorial video on how to use
That'd
OpenGov.
be good.
Give
And
a
just to
little
see like
display.
what I've been saying, you know, like what you see, because I know what he's talking about, because I monitor it closely, you know, and it's like I can see who hasn't signed off, what's green, what isn't, you know, and so. It's not like a dashboard, like what you're talking about, it's more like you have to go to project specific and then check your dashboard.
Project
you know?
status.
Yeah,
I think my only complaint about the status is it says, yeah, it gives you the green, the red, the orange.
Yeah.
And it will say like on hold, but I wish it said it's on hold. Because you're waiting on. The agency to review your plans, or it's on hold because we're waiting on you to submit new plans. And it doesn't like break it down that much, where sometimes you see it's on hold and you gotta like call them to figure out what's making it be on hold.
Yeah.
But
Let's do that next meeting. Let's just have a quick.
open
run
gov,
through.
just a little
Yeah.
quick,
And not spend-
you know, it doesn't have to be very long, it's just like, I mean, because some of these guys, like, I mean, I'm sure Jeremiah has never probably been in city gov. How often do you submit stuff?
Not a ton, a little bit, yeah.
Oh, okay, so you are
A
familiar.
little
with
bit
it,
of
yeah.
stuff with
Yeah.
crime or, you know, there's some fire permit stuff that we
Oh,
get in there
okay.
for, so. We've got some experience.
Oh,
but
okay, so
not
then
a
you're
ton.
probably okay then, you're familiar with it, but Joshua is.
No, you wouldn't be, for sure.
okay, so we'll move on from that. I just want to give a quick update there. The other thing that we're discussing right now, but we're still kind of doing a little bit of research, is one of the bigger complaints that we've gotten from developers is how many times they have to upload their plans to the different agencies. And then it ends up at sometimes kind of getting all mixed up, where the plans that somebody's working on aren't always the most up-to-date plans. And it can be frustrating when you go even to like a site visit and they come with the wrong plans that they're not supposed to be working off of. And so we'd like to create a platform where all of the agencies, their plans get uploaded to, and they all keep them filed and organized in a way that the most up-to-date plans are the ones on top. And then one of the feedback I got from one of the developers is just that those plans, when they have been approved, they don't necessarily have to be stamped. There just has to be a mark on that plan saying, yes, this one's good to go. And then by the time you get to the final plans, that's when like everything gets stamped across. But they're just running into problems where they're finding out that either they or the development agency aren't working on the most up-to-date plans because of that last lock or lack of an organizational structure, or all the different agencies just having different uploads that occur, like came to them. That we think there's a value in creating a place where all of those plans are submitted so that the person only has to submit them one time and set it to the multiple places, and then those edits can be all tracked there. So if anyone has any input on what they think would work best for that, we're still looking into it. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I mean, the only time that we run across it is regional when their inspectors come out. Because I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to planning and zoning and county planning and zoning, I mean, they're looking at a CO at the end of the project,
yeah.
you know, and so building department obviously is always there, and so we have to have the most current plans. Like there is times that an ASI will come out and it might change something that our PEs or whatever forgot about, that really doesn't affect the plumbing, you know? So the regional building department comes out and inspect, and it's like, well, I don't see this in the plan. So yeah, of course, we have to submit it, but there could be something like, I'm just throwing out there, something on site that might affect CO at the end of it. Like maybe we had to increase a sewer line coming in that reduces one parking spot. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of it. So yeah, if we can upload, but the one thing is if we upload the building department, we pay $120 for every upload, you know, and so it would be good if they shared, if the information was public knowledge, I guess. I mean, like public domain that you can go in there and just say, okay, let me look at the greatest and latest. I mean, and they do a pretty good job of saying these are the revisions.
Yeah.
You know, and so maybe an inspector comes out and says, okay, this is just junk. Like, I mean, we're talking county planning and zoning. This is interior crap, you know, we don't need to worry about it. But I mean, there might be something like, oh, well, you guys didn't tell us about it. So make a long story short, I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah,
That way everybody stays on the same page, right?
yeah, and I'm not talking about all being like one file, but
Yeah.
one folder where all the files
Yeah,
are.
just one section.
Yeah.
That you can see and it just dated. So basically I'm going through and I'm checking the latest dates, you know? I think that's something to explore.
Well,
there.
did Joe show us an example? Joe got the other.
He has not shown me an example yet, but I am meeting with him at 9 AM tomorrow for him to show me a lot of these things that he's,
Right. Joe, it was that last meeting we had at regional where he popped up with that. And I don't know what jurisdiction it was, but it's a repository for all the various plans and such, and they were labeled planning and zoning or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It looked pretty.
Yeah, we'll have to investigate that.
yeah, I had a conversation with him yesterday morning and yeah, he talked to me about a lot of this stuff. And this is all stuff we've already been talking about. We had that open gov discussion with all the agencies the other day. And I think a lot of us see a value in having a place where everybody can find the plans. That being said, not everybody wants to see everything that is coming to regional building.
Yeah,
And stuff like that. So
There are things that are multiple agencies, like for example, fire alarm, our guys are the electrical, people that know what to look for. But the fire department are looking at the devices and the layout.
Yeah.
So we have to coordinate that together as a dual approval for that. So that's when this would be handy to have it all maybe in a central location.
yeah,
That's a perfect example right there.
And the latest drawings on top, so that's the first thing.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing is making sure that everybody's working on the most current drawings, because I'm sure it can be pretty frustrating if you've updated everything, go to a meeting and they're telling you what you've already fixed and you've been waiting for that meeting.
I've seen it opposite on platforms in the bottom, no one scrolls to the bottom, so
Yeah.
you put the new stuff at the top, so.
Yeah.
Open up, it's right there in your face, you know.
Can I ask a question to the contractors? Are there any of these agencies that are still requiring papers? I know the city, when you submit your plans, they have to be Mylar copy, which is crazy. I had to pay for 1,000 Mylars recently, but.
I've never said.
Everybody's all electronic now?
Everything's electronic, yeah.
Alright, that's good.
Even Pueblo West Metro, I mean, I haven't put it, I mean, we barely print anything anymore for print companies, you know, like, but yeah, we haven't printed anything in years.
You're saving trees.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
still have to submit Mylars to the city.
Yeah, and that's the feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the-
That's the fun feedback that Joe gave me too. is
Why
he doesn't
haven't
know.
I ever done that?
Well, they want to retain
It's on the-
Civil engineers that have to do it.
Oh, on the land development side.
Yeah, and the
Okay,
city
so I
signs
take
it.
that back.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the city, we just did metal alarm, we uploaded like a couple of thousand.
Yeah.
plans.
No,
Like Mylar, we had a hard time trying to find a company to actually do it, and it was.
I could imagine.
$1,000.
And then you start building it and 4 Mylars later after field changes. You're trying to keep track of what to give them.
Wow. Yeah, I've been doing this for 23 years and I mean, we went through paper copies but I've never, I guess I'm not on the land development side. I've never submitted anything but paper or now digital for the last 10 years probably.
Okay, well, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. We're getting close to time. Usually we go over. It'd be awesome if we didn't have to go over, but does anybody have any discussion items or anything that they feel that needs to be brought up while we're all in the room together?
I just think keep these ideas coming, guys. I mean, this is what this is all about. I mean, Zach said it in our very first meeting. It's like, you know what, we need to hash some things out and leave your feelings at the door and let's get to work. And so I think I love hearing everybody's perspective. Let's make things better. So appreciate you all.
Thank you.
And thanks for dinner, buddy.
No problem. And yeah, all of you should go eat more of it because
Yeah.
everything that leaves in your stomach doesn't have to leave on like a cart with me or something like that. Real quick, I just want to go over a few things that I'll be working on until the next meeting, which will be the first Thursday in March. I do agree. I think thereuld be some value in getting somebody from CDOT to join us for this meeting to have that conversation. I personally think it'd be good if we can get somebody from CDOT to join us on a regular basis. Because it seems to be an ongoing conversation that needs to, and yeah, it'd just be good to build that collaboration and communication with them. I'll work on creating more of these tutorial videos. I'll try and have one together for OpenGov to give more of an demonstration of what OpenGov looks like for the developers. And then I'll keep working on a few of these things we had from last time. Hopefully we'll be a little bit further in the pinging feature conversation. And we can give an update on how our new revised sketch plan review process is going at the county and with Pueblo West. And hopefully we can give you more of an update on how the integration of our two OpenGov platforms is going as well. But beyond that, if anyone has anything else that should be added to that agenda, just let me know. And like this month and the month before, I'll reach out to you a couple weeks before the meeting, see if anybody has anything that they feel needs to be added to the discussion, and we'll just plan on seeing each other in March.
Wally, thank you so much for being the quarterback on this. I think that's exactly what we need, right? I see hearing tonight that there's opportunities for, I'm gonna call it cross-pollination between the county and the city. And taking the best ideas and making them one. For Pueblo Regional being in the middle, it's to our advantage that we're all on the same page. You know, so to hear about the pinging and the deals and then the brilliancy that the city has, isn't there a way that we can all see what the best ideas are? Working with the contractors and especially designers like Joe Gagliano, figuring out what their preferences are as the customer, right? And I'll just say, I really enjoyed the conversation about CDOT. I learned a lot. And I'm reminded when I was trying to change the culture in Pueblo Regional, and thank you for reflecting on that. I remember going and being at the front office, and I was very proud of our permit tech. When the customer came up and said, "What are we building today?" You know, and I think that's the attitude we all have to have. We're not on different sides. What are we building today? What are we in CDOT building today? What are the county and the city building today? You know, so that's my hope for this process.
Team Pueblo, baby.
That's
Everybody's
good.
on
I like the way
Pueblo.
you put that.
I just echoing what everybody else already said. I mean, it's absolutely crucial to have different inputs from government to contractors to everybody that knows the nuts and bolts. Like you guys, they're subject matter experts in this room, which is what is needed. So thank you everybody for coming and for continuing to come and showing up. And I think this board or committee is actually getting something done. It's encouraging, and oftentimes, sadly, everybody in here is sat on boards that you're like, are we doing anything or what? But this one feels good. So thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you. And we can end 3 minutes early.
You're adjourned.
Big time.
What's that? Yes, yeah, and that's the other thing. We do have Elizabeth, like I introduced earlier, who's doing some film stuff for us. She's here this evening to film some short snippets with people. So if anyone who would be willing to stick around for a few minutes, she's down in our office on the first floor. Ready with a camera and microphone to talk with anybody. So yeah. So please go visit her. She came all the way from Trinidad. So
I guess so. You're exempt.